Welcome back, my perspective. Yeah. It's your host, Rick, back along with JC.
Hey.
All right. So I had touched on the topic some time ago. It was about mental health in the black community, and we never rediscussed that conversation or even had that in person conversation. So, oh man, this topic is kind of touchy because I feel like a lot of people have input on something serious like that. Um, why do you think that is? That detachment that black people have in those communities where we can't say anything to each other. We're just continuing to destroy ourselves, in my opinion. Um, instead of like the communities would normally consist of, or projects would normally consist of Hispanics and blacks, and instead of trying to pull ourselves up, you got the Arab community that got their own stuff. You got areas that got Mexicans, they got their own, you know, corner stores. The Muslims, they got their own spot. But why is it so hard for even matter of fact? I'm not gonna say all black people because Africans be having their own spots too. Even my folk, Jamaicans, they be having their own area too. I just don't understand what why do you think that is? Why it's so hard for a lot of black people to just stick together and stay in that realm?
So we're talking about Black Americans, correct?
Black Americans, correct?
Okay. Um, I want to say, um, from my perspective, because you mentioned Africans, you mentioned Jamaicans, um, they all have a community mentality from birth, right? Because they come from their native lands, right? They are able to recognize and understand what that looks like, what community looks like, what family looks like, what helping generations look like to build and keep wealth, right? Within those spaces. The unfortunate thing about Black Americans are like from the moment we got here, it was all about work, divide. The person who works the most gets the most. If you don't work at all, you don't get nothing. You can't have anything without contributing, right? Even though it might be 1,001 factors as to why you can't contribute at this particular time, that whole crab in a barrel mentality for Black Americans, like, oh, if this one person make it, they're better than us. Instead of saying, if this one person make it, we can see the blueprint of how to make it as well. They can come back and get us. But everybody wants to be at the top at the same time, right? We just had this. I just had this conversation in light of everything that's going on in the America right now, and not to make it political, but there was a time when Black people had all their own things, but other people in America don't see fit, right? For Black people to have their own communities with all of their own things, because now it's like you want to be like us. You want to get too high up in this status of where we are. So you you can't have your own things because we're going to burn them down, right? We don't want you to have the things that we have because then we're in the same spaces. So it leads us to feel like we can't have anything. When people from other countries come here, other continents come here, they get grants. They're able to get you know what I'm saying? Like they're able to just come here and be like, hey, I'm here. And the government is like, here you go. Right? Like we're here and you gotta jump through hoops to get anything that America offers its citizens. As an American citizen, you have to jump through literal hoops. And I think also, and this is from experience, my grandpa used to have a store in the hood when I was younger. Um, he giving everybody credit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody like, oh, OG, oh yeah, pop, pop, but you know what I'm saying? Whatever. but you're not paying him. But you gonna go up to the Puerto Rican store or the Poppy store, like you can't get credit. You go to the Chinese store, they like, oh, 105, 105. They want their 5 cents, but they gonna keep your 2 cent on the back. You know what I'm saying? So like, what the mentality comes from, like we feeling like our own people are always trying to get over because we don't want to see like, oh yeah, God's store, like he can let me get a bag of chips on credit. I get paid on Friday. He can let me get this soda. But if I'm letting you get something on credit every single day and on Friday you don't pay me, like I'm asked out of $20. And if I'm doing it for everybody in the hood, I'm never making a profit. But I'm saying, I saw that firsthand. My grandpa couldn't sustain his story because he's doing this. You know what I'm saying? The girls coming in there smiling at my uncle's face. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody wants to get something for nothing. I feel like there are certain people in the community, like who have a community within themselves, who are, now you hear about the 5 young brothers who put their money together to all buy properties, right? And just keep doing that. And there are some families where, and a lot of, Asian families do this. We gonna all live together and save up this money, and then the next person get their house, and then you know what I'm saying, like do that again because they understand the need for one community, whether that's the community of your family or the greater community around you. And I think we as a people struggle honestly with the sense of what community used to be for Black Americans and how we can get back to that space. Like I feel like the world now, the world in America now is really on a path where we as Black people are starting to see like we need that, right? How can we build up our own? How can we do the things that we see other communities doing and thriving in? Like, so I feel like the opportunities, the space, the people are coming to the forefront for these things to take place, but it's still getting rid of that separation. You know what I'm saying? Mentality, that separation, like, colorism, all of those things. We're slowly breaking down all those barriers so we can see like the Black American community, no matter what you look like, where you come from, we're a community. Like we need to help everybody out because the reality of it is we are no longer the minorities. You know what I'm saying? If we could just come together and see how powerful we are when we support one another, when we help out one another, when we don't feel like we always have to beef with our own. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
If we could just, everybody can win at the same thing because there is going to be someone, I might not be able to listen to your podcast tonight, but somebody else got a podcast that I listen to in the mornings. You know what I'm saying? Or I listen to it at night and I catch you the next day. The idea is,
don't put me on the next. No, don't put me next.
The idea is like there is room for everybody to do everything, right? There are 1,000 podcasts on every single day. Everything might not be for everybody, but there are people that are for you, for it, and it's going to reach those people. And I feel like if we just keep with the mentality that how many sneaker brands are there? None of them are losing sleep over the other because I like what I like, you like what you like, and they're all going to make money. We have to get out of this mentality of that we all can't do the same things or we all can't have the same drive because we can, and we'll be better off once we like start with our own communities, i.e. family, because we know those are one of the first communities to be broken.
No,
right? So once we as Black Americans continue to look into and break those generational curses and build up our family communities to understand like this is where our wealth starts, this is where our love, this is where everything starts, and we can branch that out into our larger neighborhood communities, school communities, church, mosque, you know what I'm saying, those communities, and really understand that it's for the greater good that we all come together and build on those things. And I know another part of the conversation was about mental health, and I think that is even something that so many people, especially our Black American men, are really starting to tap into, because I think for so long it was taboo, right? Black people don't do therapy, especially Black men. But once we really think about it, like therapy doesn't always look like sitting on a couch with one person having a conversation. It could be you and your homies. You know what I'm saying?
That's what was portrayed. That's what we.
Yeah, it definitely was portrayed like that, and I feel like for certain situations, like, you know what I'm saying, therapy is needed. But I think it doesn't have to start with you jumping right in to do that. Like your therapy could be, you and your homies playing poker, or y'all meet up once a week to try a different restaurant and just talk about y'all week and stuff. And I think you're seeing more and more content of men having those safe spaces and being able to talk about those things amongst themselves, and they're no longer taboo for men to share their feelings and share those things. And I think that's a big part of the Black community, like really finding community, finding it okay now to, be vulnerable in front of your boys. You know what I'm saying? Because before, like, oh, you a man, you can't cry. Like, you a boy, boys don't cry. But they turn into men who can't self-regulate, don't have any emotional intelligence, they harbor everything in, and then like we wonder why are men killing themselves, why are men so angry, why are they so aggressive? It's because
But
they never had these outlets. But now
I'm gonna be honest, right? So I think besides that, yes, the men could get together and have these conversations together. But I also feel like nowadays men are more open with other men,
mhm.
and that is changing, but it's getting less to be open with our women. And I think that the women are now um, turning a blind eye to the men that need the mental health. So the
but
men
I
are going to the other men to get this
yeah,
conversation and all
but
this
I
other
feel
stuff.
like as women, and like we have to, like you said, start to recognize those things. And I think, you know, have those conversations.
I think it's getting laughed at. I think these women are saying, "Oh, you're weak now. You're not the man," or all this and that. And I think
Well,
that's why people
I hope
continue.
women aren't saying that, because I want the man who's leading my family to be vulnerable, to be able to have conversations, to let me know when he's having a bad day, to
But
articulate.
social media is showing up
I
completely
understand
different.
it, but I also think we have to realize that
It's the devil.
social media is for me. I feel like social
Devil.
media is for the most part it's for entertainment. Like at home behind closed doors, like I don't want to believe that that's who these people really are all the time. Men, and you can see so many, memes or whatever, like men really even like, oh, we need to say space to a third, and they do. Like, imagine coming home from work, you had a rough day, and like you sit down and tell your wife, your girl, whatever, like, oh, this is happening, like, oh my God, toughen up. Like, what? Because if it was me, like, you ain't gonna tell me to toughen up. Like, I just told you I had a horrible day at work. Like, you
Mhm.
gonna sit here while I cry, like you gonna go
Right.
get some tissues, you going, like, it needs to be reciprocated. So I do feel like if that's happening, like women do have to step up to the plate and really provide our men with that space. Because remember, thinking about, depending on the age of the men or whatever the case is, like all mothers weren't doing that to their boy children, right? I know we hear the narrative like, oh, moms treat boys differently, they can stay home forever, they can do this and they can do that. The reality of it is I haven't seen that with most, what I'm saying, men that I know and their mothers. Like, I know some mothers who weren't always like, oh, give me a hug, give me a kiss, tell me about your day, right? That wasn't always a thing. So men growing up not having that space, especially from a woman, like they don't, number one, know that should be available to them. Number two, it's okay for, you can be strong and still be vulnerable to your woman. Like, those two things don't cancel each other out. Like, oh, if you're vulnerable, you're not strong. If you're strong, you can't be vulnerable. Like, I feel like it's more strength in being vulnerable when it comes to you sitting down with your lady, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, and discussing your feelings. I feel like that really allows a person to really know who you are. And then they can also know how to navigate, what I'm saying, certain spaces around you, because I feel like you can start to learn cues from people. And I feel like a lot of people, for the reasons you said, like, oh, you gotta be this and you gotta be that's a deterrent. Like, if I feel like this person is gonna laugh at me or make me feel like I'm less than, I'm not gonna open up, right? I'm not gonna want to share my deeper innermost feelings. And I think that causes barriers in relationships. And females often like, oh, well, he won't do this, he won't do that. But how can I do these things or feel this way about a person who I don't feel safe with? And I think more than anything, like, men always, or we assume that men always have the job of making us feel safe, in the home and being our protectors. But we in turn have to protect them in a way that we make them feel safe and make them understand that we're here for you in the same, what I'm saying, capacity we want you to be there for us. So I definitely get that part of it, and understanding that that's a big shift that needs to take place. as far as women understanding like their men need to find or have that sense of when I come home I can have a bad day, like my lady is going to have time for me, like you know what I'm saying, to get that out. Yeah, I definitely understand that.
No, I got you. Yeah, that's a deep topic. I feel like that one, just like the lesbians is a choice conversation in that podcast. Don't roll your eyes. Don't roll. I feel like honestly, we definitely need more of an audience to get their perspective on that because I feel like that's a deep topic. You know what I mean?
All the homies up, where they
Niggas be slacking. I just when they watch it, they gonna see and they understand. And shout out to Craig. I'm gonna put him out there. He's at work.
at?
He was the one on the original First Cop podcast. He's at work and he
Okay.
hasn't made time. He hasn't made time to join our podcast. Let me see.
Are we giving him?
Nate.
Are we giving him grace? Or are we being shady? I just want to.
Both. It's always love.
Okay.
He
Okay.
deserves, you know, what I just said. Um,
Okay. All right.
Nate is text him and let him know earlier that you know, uh, are you available? Are you free? I got no response, and yeah, I've done that before. So again, these people that want to have a voice um, can make that choice. I didn't mention my other boy because he hasn't made it to the first one yet, and I also understand that he actually is busy. I'm not saying that Craig or Nathan isn't busy. I'm not saying that.
It sounded like that. So
I'm being choosy. That sounds well. All right, let me not
I'm gonna
defend
sit
you.
this one out though, because these
No,
your
no,
homies
hey,
in
hey,
real
you gonna
life.
get it too.
No, these your homies in real life. I'm gonna sit this one out.
Greg gonna if he ever do watch this, he gonna feel some type of way because I definitely chose his side. That wasn't intentional. That wasn't the case. They know they already I've expressed this before, so it doesn't even make a difference. But I think we should get to the next hot topic. Um, maybe we
Okay.
should close this out and then jump to one more. Get the people what they want.
Yeah, one more is all I got.
One
I
more.
told you I wasn't
Getting
coming.
late.
I
Getting
already
late.
was supposed to come back to this one. No, I got you. We good. We good. We
I
good.
appreciate your time.
All right.
People, this one was deep. JC gave a lot of her input, and I ain't saying much on this one. This is actually I left that to you because this was one to not get too ignorant on because it's really everybody
Yeah.
has to deal with it. Although I'm Jamaican and you are Black American, nonetheless we do have to deal with all of this. Nonetheless, when we
Yeah.
go outside and we have a color, they're not gonna see nothing else but our color first. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna care what your nationality is. They're gonna see color.
Before we hang, I understand it, but because you brought it up, I just wanted to talk about those. You know what I'm saying, differences, because it is different. And you mentioned like Africans, Jamaicans, like, and in most major cities, like they have their own communities. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
fact.
Where
But there is black people that do have they bond out the neighborhoods. They do, but they're not spoken of. They're
But
not.
that's
They
what I'm
not
saying. They're
out.
not like it's
Right.
like in West Philadelphia, but you say religion also because you say Muslim. Like it's a high Muslim population, in West Philadelphia and Germantown, where they have their own stores and everything. But like it's not highlighted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's
Right.
not like
Instead, we rather promote the negative shit
yeah, and that's
going
what
on. This
happened.
is very true. This is very true. So,
Yeah.
well, I
So
hope we promoted these people that actually do have these things. Like she said, Germantown,
yeah,
West Philly. I mean,
yeah.
there are communities out there that support each other. So shout out to them. I hope they put more of themselves out there. Philadelphia, actually, I will say this. When it comes down to business, there's a lot of black businesses in Philadelphia.
A lot.
And they're really good. Especially the food shit. And I'm not even gonna
And
knock
I
it. I was
feel
shouting them
like
out if anything.
Instagram, and so here we talk about social media, but I feel like social media is really putting Philly on the map, especially for our black owned businesses. Like, and you know me, like when it comes to food, baby's gonna have a plate. So, it's a lot of spots that, are really worth their time. And I feel like maybe in another segment we'll talk about some of those. You know what I'm
Because these
saying?
businesses are more affordable than in Philadelphia, that's the thing. And I feel like they're trying to cram everybody into one spot, which is gonna hike up a lot of other things at the same time. But at the same time, hey, y'all getting on the map nonetheless.
I mean, but
And yeah, I need to do that. I need to buy my house and have other people buy the block. You know what I'm saying? We just keep buying this shit and so on. So roll your eyes again.
I don't see what else we're doing.
Anyway, let me end. Let me end.
All
I
right. All right.
appreciate
Have a good one.
you. Peace.